Hi everyone, good afternoon and welcome to Hype, the travel blog of travel tech and hospitality. It's been quite long. We didn't connect live with LinkedIn, and I'm very happy to back again. So today we have an interesting topic about AI, and I have actually a couple of guests, very interesting. It's going to be a very interesting conversation today. But before to start and introduce the guest, I want to share my screen and explain you the reason of this live streaming, how this live stream is coming. And as everyone, I'm a ChatGPT user, and actually, I recently upgrade my profile in a premium one, so I'm paying now. I don't remember. I think something like $20 per month, and I'm trying to understand more how to leverage the potential of this tool. And let me tell you, this is great, guys. It's incredible. I mean, I'm sure most of you is using ChatGPT. It's an incredible tool. It's like having an assistant next to you, and whatever you're asking, you're always able to get the right answer. It's super prepared, and it's fabulous. And I use ChatGPT on a daily basis. And at some point, I was curious. I'm very deep into for people knows me, I'm very deep into the distribution, revenue management, and I'm very passionate, about RMS technology, all stuff like that. And at some point, I was curious, and I made a question to ask a question to ChatGPT about its future, the evolution, in particular in the revenue management space. And I made a simple question. So I shared my screen here. That's what I got as an answer. So if one day ChatGPT will have API connection with hotel property management system, channel manager, and other external data sources such as Rate Shopper to monitor market and competitor prices, could it become a revolutionary revenue management system with assistant mode, right? So like, okay, you're asking someone what will be my best price next week, what will look like my forecast next month, and so on. And actually, the answer of ChatGPT surprised me incredibly. So that just highlighting some of the answers. So absolutely, if ChatGPT or any driven system were to integrate seamlessly with property management system, client manager, and so on, it could revolutionize revenue management by becoming an intelligence, always on, all power RMS with an assistant mode. Going further, so instead of logging into a complex dashboard, revenue managers could simply ask the AI for insights. So like you are doing with ChatGPT, basically. So what's my forecast rate part for next week? Should I increase rates for Saturday? And let me if occupancy drop below 60% for next week. So really, it's like talking to someone. And, it's incredible. So by integrating guest profile from the PMS, it could suggest dynamic personalized pricing and promotion based on guest history, loyalty, and behavior. So more using machine learning model that pull historical data, market trends, and external factors, it could create a hyper accurate demand forecast. AI could balance direct booking versus OTA exposure, suggesting when to shift inventory to different channels to maximize margin. It could send proactive alerts. For example, competitor X just dropped rates by 15%. Your ADR is trailing behind the market benchmark. Demand for your location is surging due to an upcoming event. So revenue managers could interact via voice commands, WhatsApp, or Slack, making pricing decisions on the go. So really incredible this how looks like the evolution of RMS. I'm very curious how those big companies out there are thinking and redesigning and making this new approach of transforming the automation, those tools into an assistant approach. Then I was curious. I said, let's see how the industry react to this point. So I post something on LinkedIn, and suddenly I got to know Jan. Hi, Jan. How are you?
Hello, nice to see you as well.
Good afternoon and welcome on board. So, and Jan shared some comments on this LinkedIn post. And
That's great.
actually, Later, Jan will share with us this amazing platform, which is 100% assistant mode, which include different modules, but we will discuss this later. And I don't want to invite Jan, so just to present this platform and also open this conversation with everyone and share his knowledge. And when it comes to AI, blockchain, this aspect, said I cannot, take out of the door my friend Simone. Simone is one
I know.
biggest guru in this field. Me and Simone, we're friends since 20 years, and I want him on board. Otherwise this conversation one by one. I said, okay, we need to create a triangle. I want to have this provocative session, and who's better than Simone to be more provocative than I know. So how are you, Simone? Welcome.
Very good. Thank you for having me again. It's been a long time.
Yeah, a long time, but me and Simone, we are chatting on a daily basis on WhatsApp, and we're always in touch. And I hope in the future we will come back to collaborate more and more together.
Whatever you want, my friend.
Right. So to the audience, guys, so feel free to share your comments. Agree, don't agree. Feel free, to raise questions to Simone and Jan during this panel, and let's start. Okay, so this is a straightforward, conversation. I prepared some questions, really simple but straight to the point. I will start with my first question, which is, all right, are AI assistants truly smart to understand people's needs, or they just fancy chatbots? Can they ever truly replace the human touch in hospitality? I will ask Simone to start.
Okay. That is again, thank you for having me. This is the question that has been pretty much buzzing in my mind for the last 20 years, as you know. And that is, what level of technology can we introduce in an industry that is so anthropocentric, so human-centric, like hospitality, and still call it hospitality, right? So I understand that there can be some level of fear, some level of bias around AI. But if you think about it, it was exactly the same thing 25 years ago with the internet. And, it goes in a cycle. So, but I think the question is wrong, per se, because we have this tendency of thinking in dualism, right? So you got human touch here, and you got artificial intelligence here, and you will look at these two things like they're enemies. Well, they're not. Actually, the more technology, and Enzo, I've been saying this for probably 20 years at this point, but the more technology you introduce in a hotel, the more you can free up human potential, free them up from repetitive tasks, and use these humans to do what humans do best. So if we're trying to use AI to replace humans, that's not going to work, right? Even though in some cases, AI will do a way better job than humans, right? If we're looking at AI from a different angle, and that is more like a digital worker, like a colleague, that's different. That's not necessarily taking our job. Think of Amazon, for example. 1/3 of the staff in Amazon is non-biological. Robots, AI, RPA, automation, you name it, right? And nobody's thinking in these terms. They're not thinking in terms of AI versus human intelligence. They're just doing different
Actually,
jobs.
we don't feel it as a users, as a consumer. We don't feel it.
You are. Like in my first book, I wrote something like what I call the golden rule of automation. And I said, look, if introducing some level of technology will not be perceived as a diminished experience by the guest and by your staff, then go for it, right? The problem starts when you try to replace the human touch, whatever that means, because it can mean different things for different people, and you want to use AI to replace what we do. So again, I think I'm not completely sure about the premise of the question. I don't think the question is right. It's not about AI replacing humans, because they will to a certain extent. But this will mean that we will have a little more time to focus on what we should do, and that is human interaction. And especially in a moment in time with labor shortage problem, crazy turnover. I was reading some statistic from EHL Lausanne that one out of two students after Lausanne, they will go working for another industry. That's a lot. 50% of the people go into Lausanne, they will go into wealth management or luxury retail and so forth. So we need.
Wait, 1 second. Let's
Yeah.
clarify. I mean, those people are spending so much money to decide not to go in this direction.
Wait, but it makes sense, because hospitality school is what really gives you that understanding of human interactions. So I can understand. If I want to work in luxury retail, for example, I would go for a business school in the hospitality, because it will give me that soft skill that is unreplaceable. That's really the main point. So it doesn't surprise me. Problem is, we got less people. We got less good people. We got less good executives. We need to do more with less people. And that's just the harsh reality of that. So I will not answer your question, sorry, because I think that's not the right question.
Listen, Jan, it's let's understand more from the technical aspect. So let's make some clarity between what is AI and a fancy chatbots. What is the difference?
So AI, when we think about it, right, it's a bunch of algorithms, it's models, data models. When it comes to the raw intelligence, the AI models have already surpassed human intelligence. They are estimated to be at roughly 150 of IQ today, growing at 4x every year. So when it comes to really the raw intelligence, we can really use them and we can trust them. They're much more than fancy chatbots. What they're missing, I would say, are two aspects. One, specifically in our industry, it would be the knowledge of the industry itself, because the models have been trained on publicly available information, and there is not a lot of insights in terms of how hotels actually work inside, how hotels interact with other parts across the ecosystem, with travel agencies, with hotel schools, consultants and hoteliers. Like, all of those interactions are kind of fuzzy for big tech. And for that reason, we actually will not be able to get good answers from AI until we train the bots. At the same time, what I think the AIs are missing right now is a human empathy, and I don't see that being replaced anytime soon. So kind of echoing to what Simone said, we don't need to be afraid of AI. I think we should use AI as an enabler, as something that augments the human interaction, something that helps us gain coverage, helps us solve some of the more complex problems at scale. So I can see a lot of potential, but not necessarily in the area of human empathy and replacing the human touch, if that makes sense.
Do you agree, Simone? I mean, this is what you see between a simple tool like chatbot or an AI sophisticated technology.
Well, I wouldn't. In terms of sophistication, they're great. I mean, if you, and to Jan's point, it's all about how you train these models, right? The information you share with these models, the quality of the data you do have, the lack of silos in your tech stack, all of that will create an amazing, let's call it chatbot, but an amazing, I prefer using the word digital workers, okay? Because they can be anything, really. So it's, will they be able to get that human touch? Sure, if we teach that human touch. And to a certain extent, we can get better interaction with machines than with humans. But that's really not the point. It's not a question of who's the best one at delivering hospitality experience. That's not the point. The whole premise of hospitality is that you got a host and a guest, and that will never change, right? Now you can have maybe artificial hosts in the future, humanless properties in the future, and I think at some point maybe we'll need to sit down and think if this is still hospitality or if it's something else. But again, the main problem we do have is this. We really think in binary terms, and with AI, well, with actually, I like to go a little philosophical all the way, but in life there's nothing that is really black or white. So that is that's really the problem.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. Let's a little bit more deeper into this, concept, because at the end of the day, when you talk to hotels, well, as we know, the world hospitality is super fragmented. You have small family management hotel and a global chain, and of course, the way they approach this technology is different. But at some point, what I heard most from hoteliers is always about losing control. I want to keep the control, blah blah blah. This kind of excuse, I would say. But with AI making decisions, who is really in charge, hoteliers or the algorithm? So should we worry about losing control? That's the concern of hotels. What is your take on that, Simone?
Uh, well, first of all, is
And sorry to interrupt you. Sorry to interrupt you
yeah.
because you present me recently your amazing tool Review, which is
Mm.
actually replacing a manual review management aspect, which is a very interesting. Actually, maybe later you can also share more with the audience, but
Yeah.
that's the reality. I mean, at the end, you are leaving the job to an AI tools and losing.
You're outsourcing. You're outsourcing. Let's put it like
Yeah.
that. Well, look, so I recently worked on an academic paper that took me like forever to finish. It would be out, I think, in a couple of weeks for Robonomics. And the main point is that when you look at AI, but honestly, when you look at every level of automation, you have three different approaches. Okay, you got an approach that is called pretty much the human in the loop, meaning you can use AI as like a backup plan. You will, like a revenue management, it could be something like an RMS aggregating competitors' data for you. So the AI is taking care of that, but you still can sit down and then choose the right rates or the right distribution channels and so forth, right? And we've been in this situation for the last, I would say, 50 years. To some extent, we've always been using technology to help us out to automate these tasks. There is a second level, and that is what is called a human on the loop approach, meaning the AI will do pretty much everything. You will just need to make sure it's not making mistake and correct these mistakes. So again, if we take an RMS, for example, it could be an RMS coming up with a strategy and telling you, look, for tomorrow, that's the rate. These are the distribution channel. This is the minimum stay. This is, the cancellation policy and so forth. And, the only thing you need to do, humans, is just say yes, no, or, kind of, right? Then there is the third aspect, and that is where things start to become a little more problematic, is what we call the humans out of the loop. Meaning, in this case, AI will take care of everything. And for a RMS, this could be something like AI will come up with a rate, will apply the rate, send the rate to the PMS. The PMS will send the rate to all the different distribution channels. Now, in this case, who's responsible? And I would say it's a mutual responsibility because it's part the AI, but it's also part the person that actually trained the AI. So let's say I get an amazing revenue manager, right? And I try to reverse engineer whatever he did, all the books he published, all of his strategies and so forth. Now I can train an AI to think like that, think, quote unquote, like that revenue manager, right? So the responsibility is both for the model that can still make mistakes, but it's also the data we use to train that model. Meaning, if we got a so-and-so revenue manager and we train an AI on that average revenue manager, probably is going to be average results. You see my point?
Yeah. It's like peer-to-peer. No, I mean
it's garbage in, garbage out. With the main difference that AI is an amplifier. So if you got a little garbage in, that will be a ton of shit out. Basically, that's the main problem.
Yeah. Totally.
But it's I would say it's a mutual responsibility. Part of the training data, part the AI itself.
And do you think at some point there will be a way that those data are collected and feed into the AI from an AI tool? I mean, at some point,
to a certain extent, that's already the case. Agents. That's already the case with agents. You got AI agents. I call them do engines. Not search engines, but do engines because they can do something. And you got more and more It's like the evolution of what we used to call RPA. Companies like RoboSeismic, for example, they do robotic process automation. They're using more and more AI agents just to make sure that, for example, two systems can talk to each other. Now you got an AI agent getting data from a system and talking directly to another system, normalizing the data, and then maybe another agent is sending you a report. So that's already the case right now. That is why I always say, look, the quality of this model is getting better and better and better. And I do have 3 AI startups, and Jan, you know it very well. With what you built. It's over the last couple of years, these models became so much better, so more efficient, way less hallucination. The problem is always the same. What are the data we're using to train this model? If the data are bad, don't expect a great result.
When you talk about Smith agent, the first things pop up in my mind is this. I'll share my screen just to.
But it's James Bond.
No, it's a Smith from Matrix. I feel like I'm surrounded of Smiths everywhere.
Can I come out with you? This is something I never said anyone. You won't believe that. I never watched The Matrix.
No.
I know, because when it came out, I didn't watch it, and then everybody was talking about that, and I said, okay, and I was playing along. Yeah, fine, great. And then years passed by, and now I feel like a fraud to go back and watch it again. But I never watched The Matrix, so I know the story, but I never watched the movie.
Yeah, look, with your platform, I'm sure now you start having more and more conversation with hoteliers. You were an hoteliers. So what is the feeling, when you talk to those hotels, and are they have this, concern of losing control?
So I usually offer this analogy of, do you have control now, and how does it serve you? If you think of, for example, the use case of search, right? So traditionally, you would go on Google, you would search for your keywords. What you would get would be a page of 10 blue links. Are you in control? Who do you think served you those 10 links? Based on what algorithm? Were you in control choosing what they're going to serve you? No, you're not in control. It's an illusion that you're in control. And you would be, and we would kind of have gotten, over the years, we would have gotten to trust those results, the organic results, and we would be following them. We would maybe go through a couple of pages, click through the links, and then it will give us a feeling that we have done enough due diligence to get an understanding of what the truth is. But the reality is we've been already served, or we're being served, something that is pre-processed. Taking that one level higher to tools like ChatGPT, we don't get 10 blue links. We may get one very confident response. We can ask multiple tools, to still kind of remain in control, or at least continue to have the illusion that we're in control. The reality is that it's not the case. We're not in control, or only to the extent that we allow it. Now, imagine this. Imagine that you would take, Enzo, that you would take your initial search to the next level, where you would not ask ChatGPT that doesn't know anything about you or about your hotel, but you would actually ask an AI that has been embedded into your environment. That's actually your coworker that understands your location. It understands the context of what you're trying to achieve as a hotel. It understands who your coworkers are. It understands what your policies are, what are the legal frameworks that you need to follow. And with that context, it would perform a search, and it will give you what it believes is best. Now, imagine the level to which we will be able to get. And I believe that we will be trusting more and more these results, because AI will just do the heavy lifting for us, just like it's been doing already now. When you search on Google or when you go to ChatGPT, it does the heavy lifting. We're still in control of how we want to use that data afterwards. But I think we will just keep on progressing on that scale towards kind of leveraging the technology to process the data and give us what it believes is right for our environment. And then to Simone's point, it will be up to us on how well we train it, how well we ground it into our environment, how well we explain to it what our goals are, whether we want to prioritize guest experience over our revenue targets, How strict are we about meeting our compliance targets? How do we prioritize goals in the business? And that will be the role of the humans. Whenever we will see that AI is not answering what we're expecting, I think we should keep in mind that maybe it's missing some detail. Like we should understand that it's already very intelligent. We may not have just provided enough information to make the right choice for us at that given moment. And I think that will be a great opportunity for us to provide it that feedback and make it learn from the feedback. On our platform, just very briefly, we have actually come up with a concept of mentoring AI, where consultants, external consultants, are able to support hoteliers in terms of reviewing how the AI answers, injecting their own beliefs, their own business approaches to problems, and then by that, basically steering AI in the right direction, in the direction that the business owner, the hotelier, agrees to and invites the consultant to support them with. So I think there will be a lot of very interesting and creative approaches through which we will be able to drive that alignment and make sure that AI will be helping us and will be very aligned with our objectives.
Simone, I was just reading your article on HospitalityNet. So, from keywords to conversation, the ultimate guide to generative search for hotels. Can you summarize a little bit about this article? I also shared the link in the comments for anyone interested to read it.
Okay, yeah, and this is to Jan's point. What is happening right now is we moved from generic, classical search that has been like this for the last 25 years, right? So it's basically, as Jan was saying, you search for something, you got 10 blue links and some sponsored ads, right? And you rely completely on the algorithm. Now, what is happening, though, is that you got these generative search engines. So it could be ChatGPT, it could be Perplexity, it could be Google SG in the US. Meta is probably coming up with a search engine, a generative search engine itself. It could be Bing and so forth. Now, the problem we do have here is that these generative search engines will take information from whatever they find online. What is happening, and I'm seeing a lot with my clients, and I've been working with my clients for over probably 18 months at this point to make sure we do not have a problem, is that if you search for your property on a generative search engine, let's say Perplexity, for example, right? You go on Perplexity, you search for your hotel, and you ask, can you book this property online on the direct website? Okay, so on brand.com. Now, more often than not, these systems will go all around and find information. They will get some old information. And, it happened to me a few times that the reservation will go through a mirror site or an OTA. Worst case scenario, this day I was talking to a friend, not a client, a friend. He said, look, can you help me out with this? And I tried to book online by an agent, and I was redirected to LinkedIn, believe it or not. So for the generative search engine, the official website was actually LinkedIn. The problem we're getting right now is that if you had like an old third-party distribution website somewhere, before it was like on page 10 on Google, and it was pretty much invisible. Right now, it's front of the page. You can try it yourself. You go on Perplexity and try to search for whatever property and ask to book, and you will see they will give a lot of sources. So this is really, who is going to in control here? I think the hotel is in control, because for years we let all these mirror sites and OTAs and third party just creating whatever they wanted without any kind of control,
Especially in the B2B space where I'm actually,
I know. And my mantra has always been like, you own the brand. The only thing you own is your brand. If you start, making it all over the place, this will not work. And this is exactly what is happening right now.
Incredible. And this is one of the probably the biggest concern and the most buzz about AI replacing people, basically going back to the previous point. So if that is the future, which hospitality job are at risk, guys? So will roles evolve or will some disappear?
Who's replying first?
Maybe Jan, you can go first. You represent the platform actually doing some job.
I think we should view like jobs will change, right? Like that's very clear. Jobs are going to change, especially the back office roles. But I think we should view this as an opportunity rather than a threat. And why I say that is, I mean, there's currently more than 2 million jobs unfilled, right? Like we, as Simone was saying, we have a real staff shortage. We have skill shortage in the industry. And there are jobs which are currently done by people that are actually not really suitable for people, right? Like copying text from, copying emails from one place, from one template to an email client, or copying data from a spreadsheet to a system, or from one report to a spreadsheet. Like there's no human joy in doing that. Machines will be better at that. So I think we'll actually be able to delegate some of these roles to machines very successfully. And what I think is going to happen is that, one, the obvious, people will be spending more time with the guests. There will be more face time, which in this industry, hopefully everybody will appreciate. But I think there is going to be another effect, another side effect, which is going to be specialization. So when you think about the role of, we can take, Enzo, your favorite role of a revenue manager. Today, let's say we have 700,000 hotels in the world. Maybe like 10%, I'm roughly guessing, have some form of a revenue management role. So that's 70,000 people. Those 70,000 people have impact on their hotel only, or if they are, let's say, working in some cluster environment, it could be a few hotels, maybe in a corporate environment, it could be dozens of hotels. What I think is going to happen is that as AI is going to take kind of the role of executing with human guidance, we will be able to see the experts in revenue management to actually digitize their skills, right? And come up with a package on, this is how I, as an expert, am thinking about revenue management in this specific property within these specific circumstances, which could be a city hotel, middle of the season, trying to optimize ADR. And I'm just an expert in this area. I'm going to describe how exactly I would be looking at different signals, what exactly I would be doing, how I would be thinking through the problems and various different situations. And I'm going to teach AI on how it should behave on my behalf. At that point, I'm basically coming out as an expert in that specific niche. And other hoteliers that will have very similar setup would be able to hire my skill for their AI assistant and basically get my knowledge from my brain onto their AI assistant. And through that, me as an expert, I will be able to scale my expertise from individual hotels to thousands of hotels, potentially. And the other hoteliers will not need to be training their revenue managers on every possible aspect that could happen in revenue management. They could just be able to kind of tap into these very specialized skills that a few people will be creating. So I think there's an opportunity for everyone to become an expert in their niche and scale their expertise, basically scale their impact across the industry. So I think it's pretty fascinating, actually. The opportunity is huge.
Simone, be honest. Tell me 2-3 rules will disappear. be bad. Actually, be bad.
Revenue managers. I don't see a point to get a human revenue manager. Honestly, I would say that probably over the next 5 years, 80-90% of revenue management will be completely automated. This whole romantic idea of revenue managers is what it is. It's romantic idea. When we got 80% of the stock market managed by algorithms, and just a fraction of that is hospitality revenue management, where we got way less variables, you understand that there is a human bias here, right? So my rule is always the same. If you can train an AI to do that, you're basically out of the job. And that is why I love Jan's concept, because probably it could be a good idea to train an AI on yourself to scale up what you do right now. I do have my own, I have a bunch of clones, okay, and a bunch of assistants doing stuff for me, right? So while we do this, I got an assistant that has been trained on my emails, and that's replying to my emails. So basically, when we finish this, I will go on my inbox and I will find a bunch of draft emails. I will just check if it did a good job, and usually it's a great job. and I would just send them. That's, to me, it's already automatized, right? Or like day-to-day conversation, that's automatized for me. What I did over the last couple of months, I just trained a custom GPT model on everything that I published over the time, my articles, my podcasts, and so forth. And you can actually talk to the guy. I can show you if you want. I can share my screen for a second, maybe.
Yeah, great.
There it is. That's very super simple. Something you can do yourself, but right. This is basically me. I can share the link. And if you got a question that I know, it's pretty likely that my clone will know the answer as well, right? So let's say
His revenue manager will disappear soon.
well, let's try something else.
You put a big rock in the net now with this.
I know, but it's I know.
We get a lot of data around that.
My job will disappear. Advertising, for example. When you start getting such a level of beautiful granularity in advertisement, something that we used to do manually, and this very well. We've been in the industry for 25 years now, and we used to do everything manually. Now it's basically you can automate a lot of that, and return investment wise is great. So that's pretty much it. Let's try to ask something like, can you book a room as an NFT, for example? And now the model will go and check on the knowledge, and it will come up with an answer. So if I talked about that in one of my articles or one of my podcasts, you will basically get an answer with this. Okay. So
Italian,
this is,
right?
Yeah, because I started in Italian. Let me do it in
Okay.
English. In English, please. And yeah, the funny thing is that basically he speaks a bunch of languages, even though it's been trained only on French, Italian, and English. So if you want to ask this in Greek, for example, of course you can actually do it, right? Let me show you this. Wait. Can you book a room as an NFT? Reply in English. So let's see what happens. And now again, it will go into the knowledge. It will check if I ever talked about that specific topic, and it will come up with an answer. That's not a generic answer from ChatGPT. That's basically an answer based on the things I trained this model on, right? So this is exactly what I always say. It's ownership, loyalty, fraud prevention, and so forth. Believe it or not, a lot of my clients, when they cannot reach me because maybe I'm doing a speech or whatever, they talk to the clone. And the funny thing is that I can, at the end of the day, I can check all the questions they ask to the clone, and I can understand a little better about my clients now. And Jan, you know it very well, because there would be stuff that people would not ask me in my face, right? But they will ask this crazy stuff to my clone. So usually, I take 45 minutes every night. I take a look at these things. I say, they never ask me that question, but they're asking this question to the clone. So you can actually now retrain the clone, or you can call that client and say, look, tell me to my face.
Tell me the truth.
Tell me the truth. But it's usually like, it was funny for me because a lot of these questions were about maybe terms they didn't understand. And maybe they were shy to ask me about that. Maybe they didn't know what, a thread part was. And they didn't want to seem stupid. That it's totally understandable. So now when we finish the call, they go to the clone and they start asking this question. And it's great for me. It gives me a lot of insight. So I'm totally up for it.
So I'm raising this question from Daniela Lopez. So what are your thoughts on the use of AI-driven avatars in the hospitality industry? Are there specific tasks or areas where you believe they are most effective and where they should be avoided?
Jan, you go first.
So let me just read the question quickly. Use of AI-driven avatars. Yeah, I can see a number of use cases here. Imagine the number of thought leaders, so just like Simone or you, Enzo, and other people around the industry. Imagine that in addition to having a virtual clone in the form of a text chatbot, you would actually have a virtual avatar that would look like you, that would have your voice, that would be trained on your knowledge. You could actually invite them into podcasts like this one or into other meetings and engage them in conversations while the physical person would actually be sleeping, enjoying their rest, or being on vacation, right? So that would be one use case. Another use case, I think, which will be very interesting will be employee onboarding. And I'm specifically kind of targeting the non-guest facing because those are very obvious, but kind of tapping into the less obvious ones. Employee onboarding. So what Simone was saying, people are sometimes shy to ask questions, and especially if you're a new employee, you just entered a new environment, you don't want to present yourself as a clueless person, right? So you may hesitate to ask what you would consider stupid questions to the humans, but you should not have the same hesitation asking a virtual clone of maybe the HR manager who is onboarding you, or the general manager who is interested in kind of instilling the vision of the property and the operations into you. Like you could actually engage in a conversation and without being afraid to ask questions that would otherwise seem silly. Yeah, so those are a few. Hotel school teachers, lecturers, another perfect use case. Like today, you actually need to go to school and attend somebody's lecture to listen to what they have to say. Now, who says that you would need to physically go to school? Why not, if you have like 15 minutes between your lunch break and your shift, why not listening to an interesting speech from a hotel school lecturer on your favorite subject?
That's interesting. That's interesting. Simone, you want to take this? And but I also have another question from Adrian. Do you think it's the time for hotels to start developing their own AI plugin for direct booking?
I replied on LinkedIn already, but it's no. I would say what they need to do is they need to connect existing models. So going with the proprietary model right now, especially for low budget, it's not going to fly. What you can do is you can totally understand a little better how this API works, and they're very good APIs usually. Perplexity has amazing APIs. OpenAI has amazing API, and you can build on top of that. I will slightly change the angle of the question, and that is your tech stack ready to integrate AI models? That's a different question. Like, let's say, look, I've been to Las Vegas a few weeks ago. I told you, Enzo, right, for this event with a beautiful event by Infor, and they were kind enough to invite me. And they started. They launched this amazing platform called HAI, right? So basically, what it does, it's a conversational system that is directly into the PMS, and now you can ask questions to the PMS. So basically, instead of downloading reports, for example, or trying to understand what these reports mean, or even hiring a data analyst, now you can simply use conversational language, go to the PMS and ask something like, what is the occupation looking like, or am I getting more ancillary revenue from the bar when compared to last year, and that kind of stuff, right? That's really just an API away. It's just your PMS connected into a LLM model. It's really that simple if you think about that. It's just our tech stack is usually not ready. We got especially in Southern Europe, and the problem very well, Enzo. We got PMSs built in the 80s or built in the 90s with a complete different logic. It's impossible to build something on top of these systems. My take is very provocative, and I say, look, forget about AI. We don't care about AI. AI is a framework. It's like the internet. If you're a hotelier, you do have a website, but you don't know how the internet works. You don't know how an IP works. You don't know how the DNS works, but you still have a website. So the internet is the framework. With AI, it's going to be exactly the same thing. We can build on top of existing models. So I would go there. Replying to the first question, I don't know if any of you tried this new Sesam voice AI. Basically zero latency. Jesus Christ, crazy!
I was actually hearing the other day. Very surprising me. It's like
we can try it. You can try it online. You can just click on the link I sent you, share the audio. You can have a real-time conversation with zero latency. Now, imagine you use that and you connect it via API to your PMS and to your FIQ, and now you got somebody that can answer the phone 24/7. On top of that, to Jan's point, it's somebody that now knows exactly all your day-to-day operation. So when you hire new people, this can also help you out to train new people. So look, we need to get used to the fact that we're going to get digital workers. And that is why, when I was introduced to what Jan was doing, I was amazed, because it's just, again, that's, of course, makes total sense, right? It's just that, and I'm sorry, I'm going to tell something that maybe it's not super politically correct, but a lot of the narrative is pushed by the vendors. Now, a vendor will not push this narrative, because to push this narrative, they have to tell you, look, we got very shitty APIs, very poorly documented. It's not going to fly. They're closed. Yeah, we know the problem. So yeah, that's my answer in a nutshell.
Cool.
If I may just add to
Sure.
the question on direct bookings. So we're actually just actively developing that, and the concept that we're using here is, imagine that you had a reservations assistant that would understand the PMS. It would understand how to read availability rates from the PMS. It would know how to make a booking in the PMS, and it would understand your environment. It would be aligned with your objectives, right? So it would effectively represent a human reservations agent, with the only difference that there will be APIs through which external platforms will be able to talk to that reservations assistant, which means that any traveler on the internet will be able to engage your hotel through an API connection directly, no intermediaries whatsoever, and ask you about your availability, ask you about questions like, can I bring my pet with me? Can you create a very special package for me based on my requirements? And by the way, what is the rate that you can offer to me, and can I book a room? Or there could be travel platforms that will facilitate this connectivity, and we're working with a couple of partners on building that integration. But the concept is, when you have a digital worker that is able to work with your PMS and has an API or other types of connectivity published externally, there's one emerging standard called MPC, it will be possible for us to facilitate direct connections between travelers and hotels very soon. It's coming this year.
All right, so let's do something, guys. I had a couple more questions, but I would like to move more on showing something. I know that you, Simone, and Jan, you have some interesting tool. I would like to give you, just 5 minutes each of you. You can share your screen. Maybe you can start, Jan, by presenting InHotel, and then Simone, you can present review. Okay, right? Yeah, it's on your side now.
Sounds good. Yeah.
So basically, we will see how it's going to look like the future of AI assistant and agents.
A peek behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is an interface that hoteliers will see when they log into our platform. There is a screen where they can define information about their hotel. But in addition to what you would typically find in the PMSs, there is information that actually represents the environment operationally, right? Like how you would expect humans to behave on top of the PMSs. So we're kind of operating at a higher level. Things like, how do we expect humans to culturally work in the environment? What is the concept of the hotel? What is our unique selling proposition? What are our objectives? And this really serves alignment of the AI assistants with what the human managers would expect from their staff. Now, in addition, we have roles which you would typically find in hotels. Staff assistant is kind of our groundwork, which represents the foundational knowledge that you would expect from any employees to understand. And then on top of that, we have specialized assistants for different roles. But if I just quickly show you what people can configure with their assistants, it's things like personality, how they appear, what is their name, what is their backstory, right? Like, because again, we're trying to complement the human teams, and if there is, for example, one person working in a department, they may be very biased. So we're actually able to bring in a personality with a different set of values to complement the human and create a more richer environment for the hoteliers. What is, I think, very interesting, and we spent something like half a year building this knowledge graph structure, which combines the knowledge of the public LLMs, web search, but without any sponsored content. We're purely going by the relevance of the data. And then we're building this layer of industry expertise, right, to really bring information about how we think, what terminology do we use within hospitality. And we teach the assistants all that information. Hoteliers can also appoint consultants for every assistant. So if, let's say, they trust their F&B, trusted person and their know-how and their approaches, their view of the world, they can connect the knowledge base of the consultant with the knowledge base of the assistant. And then there is hotel-specific information like policies, standard procedures, and we're giving them the appropriate weights because obviously we want policies to be enforceable. So we're actually applying the weights behind the scenes to make sure that policies are prioritized over SOPs, and SOPs are prioritized over any random documents. In addition, there is a concept of tools which we're currently building. We have one prototype implementation going on at the moment, where the assistants will be able to connect with tools like PMS, RMS, CRM, and so on, and use the live data of every property. And finally, we're coming up with a concept of skills, which effectively means that people will be able, so this will be a marketplace, and hoteliers that specialize, and you remember I was talking about the niches and the specialization. This is where people with specialized knowledge will be able to basically digitize that experience and implant it into the brain of the AI agents that are kind of running under the hood of our assistants, and help hoteliers to acquire that skill for their assistant, as required. What this means for hoteliers, very briefly, they are able to chat with their assistants, just like using ChatGPT or Perplexity. So I'm just gonna fire off one example search. They would get results that are not generic. They're actually interpreted for their property based on the information that they have provided, right? So the agent that is behind the scenes sources information from all those different data sources, including the hotel zone, and it interprets the information along with the recommendation that is aligned with the business objectives of the hotelier. We also provide links to the sources so people can verify where the data was coming from. Here, one of the sources is an internal FAQ provided by the hotel. The other source is actually a podcast that was recorded by our partners at Guest Journey, and there was a guest from Mövenpick, from what we can see, that had something to say that was on topic for this specific query. In the future, what we're looking to build will be the actual virtual avatar, right? So the assistants will actually have a face, they will have voice, and they will be connected with all of this knowledge that's behind the scenes. Given the time constraint, maybe Enzo?
No, it's okay.
Yep.
Go ahead. I mean, very interesting. Can you go up again? So going back to all those icons on top of the bar, where I see all those modules. So basically, which module are you launching through this platform?
So what we have launched publicly as of now is the staff assistant and guest relations, which effectively is a chatbot on the website, right? It's an assistant that has a skill to act like a chatbot on a website. So we're not selling tools. We're actually providing skills of the digital assistants. And that guest relations one has this particular skill for now. It can be used as a replacement of the guest directory as well, like looking inwards to the in-house guests. There is revenue assistant, which is coming, and we have about 10 in the pipeline, things like concierge, HR, IT, engineering, and a few others. So at the end of this, you would be able to basically construct a virtual team that will support your department heads And it's actually quite interesting when we get these to talk to one another, because they can actually engage in a conversation and they can be solving more complex problems, such as, how can we improve profitability? And then you see the GM dispatching the question to the finance assistant, who provides some input, and then it bounces off to the revenue assistant, who provides their input. Then it goes to marketing. Like, everyone kind of contributes, and it's really interesting to see how they can limit the line.
I was making some funny. Sometimes I'm an idiot. I think I'm quite idiot. So now we have a virtual, team. Imagine tomorrow we also have a virtual traveler. So at the end of the day, we all stay at home. The hotel will be empty. So actually, virtual traveler is already existing. So you have a possibility to through virtual trips, going to the destination, visit destination before actually join the destination. You can already get some insights, understanding some of the culture of behavior of this particular city, where to stay, where to eat, and so on. So again, so it looks like we have a virtual assistant, we have a virtual guest. Where is the money going through now? So if everything is going to be virtual, Simone, I have this for you. Let's stop sharing the screen, because actually this is a perfect anchor for your platform. So, how AI will impact total reviews ratings? What will be the future of current giant like TripAdvisor?
That's a great one. Yeah, that's what I've been working on for the last couple of years.
This is on a silver plate for you, man.
Not only that, we know, for example, that not only reviews, they do have an impact on your ranking, for example, but even your, again, generative ranking. We know that, for example, replying to reviews has some kind of impact, right? Now, what we're seeing, for example, I don't know if there's an amazing white paper published like a couple of weeks ago by Review Pro, our friends Review Pro, Enzo. I can probably share the link if you want. I need to find it out. And what they find out is that over the last year, the time to reply to reviews went down by probably 500%, something like that. Okay, we used to be like, 10 days. Now it's basically 3 days. So we know that more and more people are using AI to reply to reviews, but they're actually using AI to write reviews. In my mind, the typical future of that could be something like that. Right now, you book on Booking.com, for example, and then you receive a follow-up message by Booking.com asking you to leave a review, right? We all know that. Anyway, they can be very pushy with that. Imagine that. I think the normal evolution of that will be something like you will receive an AI chatbot where you can talk to Booking.com, and the chatbot itself will write a review for you. So you can say something, okay, I like that, I didn't like that. It could be like a check, liked, didn't like, and so forth. And the system will create a review for you. So and this could be a little dystopic, but I think in the future we will have AI system writing reviews that will be replied by other AI systems, basically. And that's
we want to make our life complex. We are trying to make it easier, and we go back to the complexity.
I think at the end of the day, what we want is we really want to get a little more time for ourselves that now AI can give you. So you can automate quite a lot of stuff. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
So this is basically review. Means reviews in Japanese, and it's a startup I've been working on for a couple of years now. Basically, the way it works is it will get all of your reviews. The reviews will go straight into the system, and when you get this, is basically you can start adding some variables. Like you want to reply to this review now, but you want to do it with a certain style. And consider that every time we get a new client, we train the model on that specific client. So, for example, we know the tone of voice, right? We take like a bunch of information, website, previous reviews, social media posts. If you got a brand manual, great, surveys, and so forth. So we understand your tone, right? But even understanding your tone means that every review will be different, and the way you reply to these reviews will be different, right? You will have a client that is super pissed about something, or you will have a client that is super happy about something else. So maybe you want to make sure that you reply in a slightly different way. So basically, you receive the review directly into the system. What you can do now is you can pick up a goal. So, for example, I want to write a reply that is going to fascinate potential new customers. Or maybe you want to address criticism by clarifying what happened and so forth. You want to challenge the review, or maybe you just want to apologize, for example, right? And now you can create a style. So again, we take into consideration your tone of voice, but maybe you're talking to somebody that's a little more formal, and you want to make sure to keep that formality, right? So you can use this, for example, and different tone of voices. It could be a little more sarcastic. It can be humble, respectful, and so forth. Let's go with friendly, for example. And then, of course, you can go with, I want to write like a lot, or I want to get like a short answer, right? So let's say it's like a balance. And then you can even add some kind of personal touch. So let's say you want to talk about something in the reply, because we all know that from a marketing perspective, when you are replying to a review, you're not replying to that guest. You're replying to all the other potential guests that will read that review, right? So maybe you can add a quote, or maybe an historical trait, or a minor point of interest in the city, for example. No? We geo-localize you. So let's say you are in Rome, for example, we can show you some hidden gem that is just outside of the center, for example. Or maybe you want emoticons or whatever. And you just click, and what is going to happen here is it's going to create a review, a reply for you, just pretty much in real time. So it is, dear blah, blah, we would like to express, and so forth, everything we discussed about it. And now you can simply just publish the review, or you can directly change it from here if you want, or you can get more information to the system so that the system will rewrite the review for you. Right now, we got
Sorry to interrupt you. One question.
Sure.
So the review comes into your system. Then the user will set up, few parameters to balance the reply according to the type of profile, and then the answer goes out.
Not necessarily. It can also be automatic. So we got clients. Usually it goes always like that, because they're scared. Like Jan was saying.
Sure. The control and stuff.
The control. And then they say, okay, we don't change anything. This is great. It's replying perfectly. Let's just go. We call it autopilot.
Autopilot. Yes.
So basically, if you go with autopilot, we just create like a pack. We call them emotional packages. So we know, for example, we use like a bunch of different variables, and the system will reply automatically and will publish automatically.
That's what I think it's the right direction. I mean, don't deal with anything anymore. Just measure results. I mean, because at the end of the day, the mistake that many hotels, especially independent hotels, are doing, it's very emotional and measure success differently from a logic perspective. I mean, at the end of the day, what you have to measure is not the way you write only, is how this reply is affecting your bottom line from your revenue perspective.
Let me tell you something. Because the main idea for me was this, and I do have 1 minute to tell you a funny story or not?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because so the main idea of this software was not for reviews, okay? And a close friend that you know very well came to dinner at my place one night, and we started talking, and he told me, like, literally, I do have a low conversion on Tinder. And what he was trying to say basically was that he started conversation with people on Tinder, but he could never really get to an appointment, to a meeting, right? So we started creating this little model to reply directly to this conversation, and conversion just exploded. Now he has all of these, a lot of appointments with people. And from that moment, I started thinking about, okay, maybe we can use that to automatize something else. And that is where the main idea of review came into place, basically, right? So it's really just about making sure that you can reply with your tone. And the problem is that very often the people replying to reviews are the night manager We know it very well, because you got a lot of reviews. You do not have time. Now we know that you got like a perfect answer every single time. Right now, we did the math a couple of weeks ago. We got 99% of reviews replied without any extra editing. So basically, they like the reply, and that's pretty much it. The funny thing, though, is that when I started looking at the reviews, I saw, and this was for a client of mine, and I saw that a lot of the guests were mentioning something that was not on the website, but was mentioned on the replies to the reviews. So they were actually reading not only the reviews, they were reading the replies as well, right? And so I said, okay, this is a marketing tool right there. And that is the main idea. It's not only replying to reviews, is use that as a marketing tool. So that was the main idea, basically. Does it make sense?
Yeah, totally. And really surprising. And how many new technology are raising in the industry? It's incredible. And this is more and more, in the AI direction, as obviously. I've seen a lot of interesting comments from the live show. Very Daniela, Marcos, thank you guys, Johan, and all the people contributing, making comments and ask questions. Well, we are at the end. Jan, you want to add anything just to close?
No, just thank you for having me here. It was a great pleasure, and I'm looking forward to working with you guys and also supporting other technology partners, in terms of integrating AI into your systems and your workflows. Because there is really no need for us to be duplicating work. We can be connected, and we can actually deliver those great experiences to hoteliers in a collaborative manner. So on that note, I would like to thank you.
Simone, maybe you can share in the comments in LinkedIn your email, or just invite people. Just they are curious to know more about your tools. Maybe they can contact you directly on LinkedIn, or maybe you can share your email in the comments. So if someone wants to know more about Rebu or InHotel, guys, those are the two fellas. Thank you guys again for participating in the hype, and we'll see you in the next show. Bye, everyone.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Thank you, guys.
Bye.